Welcome to Politics News Wolf US channel. The flames of war continue to surround the Russian army, along with the Ukrainian army's attacks on strategic points. The number of fires of unknown origin in Russia is increasing. These fires usually occur in military facilities, security centers, factories producing ammunition, and important points such as training and command centers belonging to the invaders. Although there are many claims about the cause of the fires, the real reason is mostly unknown. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the number of fires in Russia has increased dramatically. The war has undoubtedly spread to the Russian territory outside. So much so that almost every day there is news of an explosion or fire somewhere in Russia. The number of fires has increased even more since Russian leader Vladimir Putin's decision last year to impose partial mobilization. This important factor, proven by statistical data, suggests that Russian anti-reoccupation organizations and Ukrainian partisan groups are behind the fires. The fact that the fires often occur at military and defense positions undoubtedly contributes to Russia's decline in the war. In the past day, a new explosion and fire occurred south of the city of Kazan near Moscow. Kazan is a city of more than 1 million inhabitants, located about 747 miles east of Moscow. The fire in the city, one of the center points of Russia, occurred in an area belonging to the Russian. So much so that the impact of this fire will be felt seriously because the fire broke out at a Russian tank training ground. The fire, which Russian news sources described as a nosy explosion, was denied by Russian officials as always. Along with the news in the Russian press, many videos of the moment of fire were published on social media. Despite all this evidence, the Russian authorities denied the fire. The reason for this was undoubtedly to hide a development in losses that would have an impact on the war, because the losses suffered by the Russian army are increasing every day and Putin does not know how to compensate. The fire that broke out at the tank cleaning ground in Kazan was monitored from the center of the city. In the images shared, the smoke rising from the fire was clearly visible even on a street crowded with civilians and vehicles. A news organization announced the fire in Kazan with a video from the center of the city with clouds of smoke rising into the sky as follows: residents of Kazan are reporting a powerful explosion near the tank. Local authorities deny everything as usual. Many of our analysts have commented on the fire in Kazan because the area where the fire broke out was a war. So much so that one of the comments made by war analysts was that Russia might experience a setback back in the war after the fire at the tank training ground, because this was the area where the soldiers who drove the tanks used by the Russian army in the invasion of Ukraine were. Fires in Russia increased with the invasion of Ukraine. There were fires in the Russian army even before the war. This was due to anti-Putin sentiment within the military. One of the most notable incidents occurred in 2019 when a fire broke out on a Russian Navy research submarine in the Barents Sea. 14 Russian sailors died in this. In July 2020, a major fire broke out at an ammunition depot in the Ni Novgorod region. The fire led to the evacuation of nearby residents and the deployment of hundreds of firefighters to extinguish the fire. Before the start of the Ukrainian war, fires broke out in the ammunition depots of the Russian army. Today the fires continue to increase. In addition to the attacks of the Ukrainian army, many fires of unknown origin are causing heavy losses to the Russian. Another of the fires that occurred in an area belonging to the Russian army broke out in September 2020 at a military training ground in the region. This fire caused serious damage to the area, although Russian sources explain that the fire was caused by a secret thrown in the trash. This explanation was not because the fire spread to a very serious area in a short time. One of the areas where fires are common these days is military bases, but these fires were also seen in Russia before the war. In October 2021, a year before the start of the war, a large fire broke out at a military base near Moscow, causing serious damage to several buildings. The fire reportedly broke out in an area where fuel and lubricants were stored, and more than 400 firefighters were deployed to extinguish the flames. These incidents underscore the risks and challenges associated with maintaining a large military presence, including the storage and maintenance of ammunition, equipment, and other supplies, and the importance of implementing effective fire safety measures. While the Russian leader Vladimir Putin is dealing with the fires in Russia, the Ukrainian army continues its offensive. In the regions where the fighting is intensifying, important positions of the Russian invaders are being destroyed as a result of successful operations by the Ukrainian army. According to the Ukrainian General Staff, over the past day, the Ukrainian Air Force carried out 14 strikes on the areas where the Russian invaders are constant. 11 strikes were carried out on military equipment concentrations, and 3 strikes on anti-aircraft missile complexes. The Russian army is suffering heavy losses. In a new statement released the other day, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said that, and as you identify, fighter jet of the Russian invaders was shut down. In the statement, it was also stated that the Ukrainian Air Force hit a radar station, 2 electronic warfare stations, and an anti-aircraft missile complex and ammunition depot of the Russian invaders. The losses of the Russian army are increasing day by day. The losses of the Russian army since the beginning of the war are as follows: 180-2017, minute 3 person, 3,657 tanks, 7,083 armored combat vehicles, 2,795 artillery systems, 538 reactive suppress fire systems, 284 air defense systems, 308 aircraft, 293 helicopters, 5,658 automotive and tank equipment, 18 military ships and boats, 911 cruise missiles, 2,339 augment vehicles, 326 special machines. 4 operational tactical missile systems. Russian leader Vladimir Putin is unable to prevent losses against the Ukrainian army. The sanctions imposed by Western and European countries are causing Russia many problems. These problems have now reached a level that the Russian people People are complaining about the post for inflation and are worried about their country because the war has spread to Russia. The Russian people who start today, almost every day, with news of a new fire or explosion on Russian soil cannot make sense of what they are experiencing. Anti-Putin demonstrations and protests are increasing on the streets of Russia. People want the war to end as soon as. But Putin does not listen to his people and arrests the Russian people who participate in the protests. The repression in Russia could lead to chaos at any moment. The patience of the people is exhausted and the soldiers in the army could revolt at any moment because of the hardships they are going through. It looks like a bat in a way. It's Russian leader Putin. What do you think could be the cause of the fires in Russia? Will these fires affect the course of? How do you interpret the successful attacks of the Ukrainian Air Force? Will Putin be able to avoid military losses? We are curious about your views. Thank you for watching the video. If you find it useful, please comment and share the video for us. It will make our channel more known. See you in the following videos. Thank you very much.